Hello everyone and welcome back to APPF1 Tier 2. It is a Tuesday night and so we are back. I'm being told to re-invite Alex again, so let me do that for just a second. There we go. But hello everyone and welcome back. We are here in Miami for what looks like a very, very wet qualifying session. So this is going to be interesting. People are going out on inters, so it's clearly not as wet as it seems. But still going to be a fascinating session to see who has the better of these conditions. We've got Lawrence and our newbie Vista in the Alfa Romeo out on track as well. Great to see a newbie in Tier 2. Hopefully he has a good first race in that Alfa Romeo. Yeah, it's a bit tough on him to have his debut in Miami, one of the worst tracks to drive on the calendar, just because of how much, or the lack of grip on the whole circuit is horrible. Yeah, Vista, he's got something to prove today, but I don't think anyone's going to judge him if he has a bad debut in Miami, because it happens around this circuit. We've got MCL just joined back into the lobby. Electro Saunders is going to take us on our first lap. I did re-invite you. Alex is asking for another invite. Hang on a second. But Electro Saunders on to the first lap of the session into turn 1. Into the corner, but gets around it at least. And on to the next part of the lap. This first sector grueling, so difficult to get right. Can easily go horribly wrong, and you end up either in the wall or facing the wrong way. Electro Saunders just tiptoeing around this first sector at the moment as he comes around to this long left-hander, which you've got to turn in for at the right moment to get the best exit. But here he comes through sector 2 and down the long straight. And then into the next left-hander. Sorry, I've got someone trying to tell me to do more invites. But anyway, Electro Saunders coming through this double right-hander, really tricky, slow section of the track. This chicane can get in the bin. That should just be a straight, in my opinion, up to this left-hander onto the long DRS straight, where we're going to see plenty of overtaking opportunities, as well as the other one in the middle sector. But Electro Saunders down to the final braking zone on the circuit. Where's he going to brake? It's 125 in the dry. He braked at about 130, so pretty good from Electro Saunders in the braking zone there, but gets it a little bit wrong on the exit, but down towards the line. Let's see what the time is going to be. Alex is in the lobby. Electro Saunders at 39.4. Hello to Lil Manny Man in the chat. Great to see you in the chat, mate. And yeah, we wish you were here too, man. As Electro Saunders a little bit of a slide through sector 1, but Lawrence only 4.5 tenths down on Electro Saunders' lap, so not too bad despite that lock-up into turn 1. I'm glad you're enjoying the podcast as well, Manny Man. That's great to hear. Jackalacko, though, goes on to pole position, a 39.101. Great lap from the Scottish driver. Who else? Aces versus Kings, the championship leaders, also on a lap. We've got Krauser just starting one in sector 1. Tier coming down to the end of his lap. Mania just a few corners behind as Tier comes down the straight. See the comments that I've missed. Have I missed anything? Don't think so. Okay, Tier down to the final the final braking zone on the track and down towards the line. It's so hard to get the power down out of that corner in the dry, never mind these conditions. Tier, though, goes pole at 38.92. What about Mania? What can he do across the line? It's only P5, a long way back. What about the championship leader? Aces versus Kings up to the line. It's a 40.2. He's a long way off. So Tier takes the early lead in terms of the time. That's a brilliant lap from him. We've got Sumo Gilligan on an out lap, my commentary and podcast partner. As Robsu is on an out lap. He's got a quali ban, so he's not going to set a lap. He will be heading straight back into the pits. But he's just getting a grasp on the circuit. And he is perfectly allowed to do that as long as he doesn't set a lap. It's all good. Krauser coming down towards the end of his lap in the other AlphaTauri meanwhile. Oh, that's very wide though at the final corner. Tricky to get the car turned in these conditions. Horrible it must be to drive, but Krauser still P5, a 39.7 from him. Luke Hesro goes to P1. Wow, that's out of nowhere. A 38.8 from the Ferrari driver from Italy, I believe, and that makes it a Ferrari 1-2, 400ths of a second between them as Luke Hesro gets a big slide out of turn 3. Lupper, do you mean to tell me you haven't done any practice without the line at this track? What you're trying to tell me, because that's not ideal. Sumo in sector 2 right now, double right-hander as he goes down towards the final sector, misses that apex by quite a long distance. He's got a lovely helmet though, does Sumo, as he comes down to the last corner, the last few corners. Lawrence goes to P4 in the meantime, an improvement from the defending champion. Sumo isn't using his ERS, so he's doing a double out lap here, unless he's forgotten to turn his ERS on, which honestly I can believe. MCL is invalidated in the other Haas in the meantime, so he's going to have to try again. But Sumo to the line. Without any ERS, it's going to be a 41.2. So let's see what he can do with ERS on the next go round. Obviously, everyone can get more than one lap in at once due to these conditions, but it's going to be a struggle with the ERS, of course. You're not really going to have enough to do a full lap properly unless you bail out of your first one early. Ferrari to P5, by the way, in the Williams. That's great stuff from him. He's been struggling so far this season in Tier 2 on his debut, but he's doing fine now. Up to P5, and not that far off the leaders, only just over half a second behind the two Ferraris. And at the moment, it's Ferrari, Aston Martin, Williams in that order, all 2 by 2, and then followed by Aces. Who has bailed out of his next lap, and he's going to try again. Krauser at the moment in sector 1. Mania in the final sector, but not improving. What about Krauser in sector 1? He's not improving either. 2.5 tenths down. He's been struggling for quali pace this season, Krauser. In fact, he's been struggling with quali pace for quite a while now, which is a shame because his race pace is usually really strong. So he needs, if he gets quali laps together, then he'll be in a much better position for the race to take advantage of that race pace that he's got. But if he can't qualify high at the grid, he's always on a recovery drive, and that's the issue for him at the moment. Vista on an out lap at the moment as Lappa brakes too late for turn 1. Nearly heads into the wall. That's very close, that one. Alex just about managing to keep his car intact as Alex G is very wide there, but just about gets away with it. He's got the Lewis Hamilton Pride helmet, which is fantastic. But I can only give it a 1 out of 10 for the helmet review, because it is not a custom design. But nevertheless, the Mercedes driver is coming into the end of sector 2 now, brakes for the left-hander, gets it stopped. Now the double right-hander, you've got to keep it as close to the wall as possible, and Alex a little far away, but that could be the better line in the wet. as he comes through the chicane now and down to the last couple of corners on the circuit. Very tricky section of track as he comes down into the final sector. All the way down this long straight. Giacolacco on a lap as well. He's purple. In the middle sector is the Scottish driver. Electro Saunders not improving right now. Krauser improving by half a second in sector 1 though, and he's already improved up to P7, but it's a shame that he's improving by so much because he's got no ERS left. So but Giacolacco's up by 8.5 tenths. Is the weather easing, or is this just a lightning fast lap from Giacolacco? It could be both. It's a 38.2. It's pole by a long margin. Electro Saunders not improving. What about Krauser? He's still half a second up in sector 2, but it's nowhere near Jacko's time, and he's lost it all in the middle sector, actually. He was half a second up in sector 1 and then lost it all afterwards, so he's going to have to try again. 7 minutes, just under 7 minutes remaining in this session. As Lupper tries his best with no line. Vista down towards the final hairpin in sector 3. What can he do in the Alfa Romeo? It's a little bit wide, but just about gets it stopped in time as he heads down towards the line now. A little bit of lag on that Alfa Romeo, but it's just about okay. As he comes to the line, it's a 40.3. It's only enough for P11 at the moment, but I'm sure he's got more in him as MCL comes into Sector 2. The man chasing down his teammate in the driver's standings. Haas currently have the lead in the constructors. Despite MCL's race ban last week. There's an Aston Martin there nearly getting in his way, but I think it was just about okay. As it comes down towards the final sector now, what's it going to be? As he hits the sector line, it's going to be a 1 minute 10.9. I think that's pretty good. I remember 1 minute 11s from other drivers, so I think this is pretty good from MCL as he heads into the final braking zone on the circuit. What can he do on his opening lap in this session? Well, his opening lap that's not invalid as he comes through the final corner. That looked pretty close to the apex, pretty close to the wall on exit as well. Nicely done from MCL. What's the time going to be? It's looking pretty good. It's a 38.4. It's not enough to beat Giacolacco, but it's enough for now, and I'm sure there's more to come from MCL as Lupper continues to struggle in that Red Bull with no line. I do feel sorry for him, to be honest. Yeah, I think he'll struggle today, but he'll be fine in Brazil. Is how I predict it to go. Vista coming down towards the line, just feathering that throttle as he comes through the final corner, and he does improve. It's enough for P11. It's just behind the championship leader, actually, and not far off the pace at all. So decent from Vista, but he'll want to do better than that before the end of this session, which we're rapidly approaching. As Tier is also on a lap. He's 7 tenths up, in fact, is Tier. 4.5 minutes left in the session, but this could be provisional pole for the British driver as he comes down towards the line. What's it going to be? It's a 38.3. He lost time in the final corner, but it's still enough for the front row. Unseats MCL down to P3, and he's got to try again and try and go better. 4 minutes to go in this session then. Lawrence has invalidated, so he's not improving right now. Lupper's out of the session. Aces also out. Aces, the championship leader, has crashed out of qualifying. I'm not sure how that's happened. There's his car, or there was his car. It just despawned, but Sumo coming out the pit lane, just about managing to avoid it. But Aces versus Kings out of qualifying, and the championship leader's got a lot of work to do now in this race if he wants to try and get anything out of this one. He's down in P10. He's probably going to go down even further as people are still improving. 3.5 minutes to go, but Aces is going to be kicking himself for that one. Ferrari at the meantime still in P6, doing a decent job in that Williams. We'll check in on him again in a second. Lucas Rowe coming through sector 1, Tier not on a competitive lap right now. What about Vista? Also not. Mania is 6/10 up though in sector 1. So what can he do in the middle sector? We'll have to find out very shortly as he comes to that sector line just after this corner. What's it going to be? A little bit of oversteer on the exit, but he's 7/10 up. This is much better from Mania to get him more in with the rest of the grid. Sumo's still a long way off, unfortunately, in the Mercedes, but Mania coming to the final corner. We've also got Ferrari just behind him, so we've got to keep an eye on both of them as Mania misses the apex of that final corner. Down towards the line he goes, though, just about keeping it on the circuit. A little bit of oversteer on the exit, but down to the line for Mania. It's a 39.5. It's much better, much more with the pack. Ferrari improves to P5. He is flying in this qualifying session right now. Lucas Rowe has invalidated, so he's going to have to go again. Tier right now on a lap in sector 1 looking for pole position, but he invalidates in that same sector and he's going to have to try again. There's just enough time for him to get round and go again, but time is running out for the drivers on circuit right now as Mania comes round. Vista also retires from the session. I think that was in the pit lane though, as he didn't have time to come out and do another lap, so he will be consigned to P12 at best. But Sumo in sector 2 right now. Slight improvement in the first sector, but he needs a lot more than that to be with the rest of the pack, as Alex G, Krauser, Electro, Lawrence, MCL and Jacko all on outlaps. Sumo very wide there, lucky to not invalidate. He's really struggling in these conditions right now as he comes down towards the next corner. Yeah, he's really taking it easy at the moment. Through sector 2 he goes. Let's see what it is at the sector line as he's coming up to now. He's 6/10 down, in fact, so Sumo really not enjoying these conditions right now. Tier into the pits, so he is not going to improve. He will not be on pole position today. Ferrari is improving, though. He hits the wall on the exit, though, and I wonder if that's caused him some damage. I think it did, because he's into the pits, and no improvement for him either. Electro Saunders, though, is 7/10 up in sector 1. What can he do? Alex G is going to be one of the last across the line. 30 seconds to go in the session, but he's got a Haas right in front of him of MCL, who's also on a lap. They could get in each other's way here if they're not careful. I think they will get in each other's way. I think Alex is already going to get some dirty air from that Haas in front of him. He's really mistimed this lap, I think. Mania coming through as well, just behind Sumo, and I think he's definitely going to get held up if Sumo continues his current pace in this session, unfortunately. Alex G coming round, hits the wall on the exit. There's an Aston Martin round, that's Jack Alaco, so no improvement for the Scottish driver who's on provisional pole. Can anyone beat him? It's not going to be MCL. He's 7 seconds down in sector 1, so he's going to be P3 at best. What about Lawrence? As he's coming through into the middle sector he goes. MCL is using line, yes, at the moment. Like I told you, Lupper, in the TMs, we're watching him. He had a race ban last week, remember. Lawrence coming through, though, in the Aston Martin in sector 2 at the moment. What can he do? He was, I think it was 4/10 up in sector 1, so he could have a chance at snatching at least a front row finish. Krauser also up by 4.5 tenths as he looks to do better from his qualifying form so far. Mania coming through down towards the final corner. No, Lupper, read the DMs that we sent to each other again. I promise you I told you what was happening. But Mania coming around the final corner. Sumo loses the rear, and Mania's going to lose the rear as well from the dirty air. He's definitely being cost time. He still gets up to P8. Sumo improves. It's not by a lot, but he does improve. He's a bit closer to the rest of the pack with that lap. Krauser on a lap. Lawrence down towards the final corner. He was half a second up in sector 2. What can he do? At the line, it's going to be P2. Is an Aston Martin front row lockout unless Krauser can do anything about it. No, he's only P7, and Lawrence, the defending champion, comes up with the goods at the end of the session. Goes up to P2. Aston Martin front row with Tier in P3 and MCL only down in P4, and then Lucas Rowe, Ferrari on the 3rd row with Krauser and Electro on the 4th row. and then Mania and Alex. But it is Jack Alaco who takes pole position. He's going to be absolutely delighted with that. And then his teammate alongside Tia, MCL, and Lucasro make up the top 5, with Raf Ferrari doing well up there in P6 as well. He'll be chuffed with that, will the Spaniard. Krauser and Electro Saunders make up the 4th row, with Mania and Alex in row 5. Then Aces, the championship leader, down in P11 after crashing out at the first corner. Vista on his debut in P12. He'll be hoping for a better race, but at least his time is close to the pack. And then Sumo in P13, unable to set a decent time. And then Luppa and Robsu in the 2 Red Bulls will make up the back of the grid. Luppa, like I told you last week, mate, I'm not having these conversations while I'm commentating. Like, I can't. I can't give you this stuff. I can't have these conversations while commentating as well. It just kind of ruins it. It looks like a dry race, at least for now. Anyway, there are clouds in the sky, but it doesn't look very grey. So hopefully the dry conditions will lend to some good racing. Everyone getting their setups ready, getting their strategies in order as well for what is going to be a grueling Grand Prix. There's definitely going to be a DNF at some point. I would gamble on several DNFs as well. It's a very tough circuit. We had several DNFs in Elite, several DNFs in Tier 1 a few days ago as well. So Tier 2, I mean, if they can get through this with no DNFs, it would be a miracle. It really would. But someone's going to make a mistake. Someone is going to bin it at some point, I'm sure. And we'll see if it brings out any crucial safety cars at any points in this race. But we're about to get going for the Miami Grand Prix formation lap. So let's get everything enabled. Tyres, interesting. Right, so most of the grid, or about half the grid, on medium tyres to start off with. Lawrence, Krauser, Alex, Aces, Sumo and Robsu all starting on the hards, looking to go long in this one. And then Electro Saunders in P8 starting on the soft compound of tyre. So he's going to be a menace going up that grid in the first stint. Those softs will quickly wear down and he will be struggling before long. So interesting choice from the South African. We'll have to see if it pays off for him as he heads through Sector 1 now. Another driver I'll be watching is the newbie, Vista, on his debut. Hopefully he has a good run of it. Always like to see drivers have good debuts in APPF1, and hopefully Vista will be no different. Disappointing qualifying, I think he would have thought, but plenty of opportunities to make up positions in the next 29 laps. And then Aces, the championship leader, binned it in qualifying, and he will be starting from P11 as a result. So he's got a lot of work to do. Keep an eye on this man for sure. Hello to Louis in the chat. He's come to see if anyone puts it in a wall. I'm sure someone will at some point, Louis. I am sure. But whatever anyone does, it's not going to compare to, I think, was it Frisk Fruit in DRL or DLR at this circuit where he launched into the sky. That was a good glitch. That was a funny one. That's probably the biggest glitch I've ever seen commentating a race before. Yeah, I don't think anyone will quite compare to that. But Jack Alacco lines up on the grid in pole position in the Aston Martin. It's his second pole position in Tier 2 since returning to the division last season with no racing line. And he's going to try and give it his all to win this race, but he's got his teammate behind. He's got MCL down in P4. Tier and Lucas look pretty fast as well, but it could be a remnant of the wet conditions helping them out. We're about to find out for 3, 4, 5 red lights. And we're underway for the Miami Grand Prix. It's a brilliant start from Jacko from the front. A terrible start for Tier, who gets swamped by MCL behind him. Lawrence tries to go around the outside, but he can't quite do it. So on the inside, Vista's out of the session already. No, on his debut race, he is out in Sector 1. Huge, huge crash as both Ferraris down to 13 and 14. Electro in P9 at the moment. Lost a position, I think. Alex G has a 5-second penalty for a collision with Electro Saunders. I'm not sure how he managed that. Let's have a quick look at positions. I've no idea what happened there. Alex has 10 seconds of penalties, actually. We have a virtual safety car. He's up 4 positions. Luppa's up 7 positions. I've no idea how he managed that. Does he have his whole front wing intact? Yeah, he does. What a move from Luppa Kovacs, up 7 positions in turn 1. No idea how he's managed to do that. Both Ferraris, though, down to P13 and 14. Absolute disaster for them. But Vista on his debut out of the race already. No idea how that happened, and Jack Alacco's gotten a drive-through for speeding under VSC. It's chaos in this race already, and we haven't even finished lap 1. We're back under green flags, but Jack Alacco's going to be absolutely furious with himself for getting that drive-through. Luppa Kovacs makes up another position. He's up to P6. In the meantime, in the Red Bull, Alex G right behind him in the Mercedes, with Mania in P8. And then Electro Saunders in P9. Luppa is round, though. Luppa round at the hairpin. He's gone too deep, I think. Jacko and MCL both into the pits. Must be damage for MCL. Jacko serving as drive-through, but MCL, no such penalty for him. It must be a front wing change. It is indeed for the Haas driver. Disastrous start for the Spaniard. Lucas Rowe also in for a new front wing. I've no idea what happened at turn 1. I'm sure we'll find out later in the steward's room, but that was very, very fast. Krauser already up to P2, Ferrari up there in P3, Alex G in P4, so many people gaining a lot of positions. Robsu up 8 places to P7. Luppa, after that incredible start, is down to P12 already and struggling still with the braking zones because he clearly hasn't done any practice, and he's gone round as well. But what a rocket start he had, and now just struggling to keep it on the circuit. Tier and Aces go wheel to wheel in the meantime down at the end of Sector 2, and Tier keeps the position for now. Great racing between those two, but it's all about this chasing pack at the moment, led by Alex G, who's 2 seconds behind Ferrari, who is catching Krauser. This man, he has been on the back foot for most of this season. He's had no pace relative to the front runners. He's been sort of lower mid-grid since joining earlier this season, and now look at him up in P3, challenging Krauser for P2 as well. Mania and Electro Saunders going wheel to wheel in the meantime. Lawrence sets the fastest lap at the front of the field, but it's Mania, Electro Saunders and Robsu nearly 3 wide as they go down towards turn 1. Mania and Robsu side by side. Mania's going to have the inside and keep P6, but this is brilliant battling between all these guys. Tier's getting involved now as well. He goes around the outside of Robsu, who had a quali ban for this race. He started from last place. He's up to P8, P7, but now he's back down to P8 as Tier makes the move. We've got Luppa gone far too deep at the hairpin once again, as Tier and Robsu side by side as they go round. Tier just about staying ahead into P7, but he's lost a lot of time to the drivers ahead. Yellow flags again, that's Luppa, I think, trying to turn himself round as Robsu retakes that place with the slipstream and ERS use, and he's up to P7 is the Finnish driver, with Tier just go wheel to wheel. Sumo making some moves. There's contact though, and Sumo nearly round, manages to save the car, but he is doing a number on the championship leader right now. Electro Saunders into the wall on the exit of the chicane. No front right end plate, and he's going to have to head into the pits for a new front wing. Disaster for the South African. Jack Alako trying to get back into this race as Ferrari goes down the inside of Krauser for P2. What a move from the Spaniard. He's up to P2 in the Williams. What a brilliant race he's having so far. Long may it continue. I'm loving to see him up here. And Krauser right behind Sumo and Aces. Wheel to wheel again as Aces heads into the pits. There must have been damage to the Haas driver, and it's been a complete disaster to the start of this race for both Haas drivers, for both Ferraris as well. And this is incredible start to this Grand Prix. Absolute chaos. MCL setting the fastest lap from... Oh no, he pitted the last lap, that's how. But Lawrence leading this one by 2.7 seconds. The defending champ looking for a strong victory here to reignite his position in the title race. He's had a torrid first half of the season, it has to be said, as Krauser and Ferrari go side by side again. Krauser down the inside of the corner, and he makes the move on the Williams driver. But Ferrari down to P3. We've got yellow flags as Jack Alako and Sumo going wheel to wheel. Now Jacko gets ahead up to P8 for the Scottish driver as he continues his fight back after that drive through he got on lap 1 under the VSC, which he's going to be absolutely gutted about. As someone went round in the background, I think. Didn't see who that was. I think that might have been Sumo, but it's Alex G. No, it's Ferrari and Krauser going side by side again. And Ferrari making that move with the DRS down towards the final corner, and he's back up to P2, but 3 seconds now is the gap to Lawrence, and Alex G trying to close in on them. 2.3 seconds, but he does have those 10 seconds of penalties that he has to serve. He's going to have to serve them in the pits, whether they're legitimate or not, unfortunately for him. As MCL goes through, Lupper very deep again at the same corner. You'd think he would learn where the braking zone is after 3 laps, but you know. Lucas Rowe getting past Aces in the final corner as Aces goes down towards turn 1, side by side with him. As they head down into the corner, Aces brakes late and gains the position as Tier and Robsu are going side by side again. There's action up and down the grid right now. Tier getting back ahead of the Red Bull up to P6, but still a 1.1 second gap to Mania for Tier, and he's got to get this sorted here. He's got to get back in that DRS range. He is in it now, 7 tenths, and I think he'll be fine now for the DRS. So the train, the Alex G train continues, but Ferrari has gapped Krauser now. 1.5 seconds between the two of them. Alex G is caught up. I think there must have been a mistake from the AlphaTauri driver as his teammate gets past Alex into P4 in the meantime. Great stuff from Mania. As they head into the final corner, Mania just eking ahead and up to P4. Alex G down in P5, but still ahead of Tier, but still with those 20 seconds of penalties. Robsu trying to hold on to them at the moment, but he's lost some time. 1.2 seconds, he's out of DRS, so he's got to fight hard as the Finnish driver to get himself back in. As we've got more action. Lucas Rowe getting back past Aces for P11 in the meantime. Both these drivers had poor starts to the race. Probably not their own fault due to that big crash at turn 1. I've still no idea what happened. I'm sure we'll find out. But that's Lupper deep again in Sector 2. And causing some yellow flags, but it should be okay as long as he doesn't get anyone's way. Lawrence, a bit of a tap of the wall there on the inside of the double right-hander, but he survives it. He's fine. 3.2 seconds ahead of Ferrari in that Aston Martin. He is very, very comfortable right now as the defending champ. And Ferrari is flying in that Williams. He is doing a fantastic job right now, and I really hope it continues. if he can get on the podium after the last few races he's had, it would be brilliant stuff. Krauser moves out of the way of his teammate. Mania up to P3. Tier down the inside of Alex for P5 in the meantime in the Ferrari, and he gets the move done. But he's still 2 places down from where he started, but he's recovering after getting caught in that chaos at the start. He was down in P13 or something, remember, after lap 1. And now back up to P5. He is really recovering very well in that Ferrari. Let's see the comment that I just missed. Lawrence leading on hards is huge, setting himself up for a strong final stint. Absolutely. Let's change back to the tyres. As Lawrence on the hard tyre, Ferrari and Mania both on mediums, Krauser on the hards as well, so he's one to watch too for the second stint. And remember, we're surely going to get a safety car at some point in this race. The 2 AlphaTauris wheel to wheel again, and it's Krauser this time making his way past, back up to P3, but now it's a 2.3 second gap to Ferrari, who is catching the defending champion. 3.1 seconds between himself and Lawrence right now. This race pace is outrageous from Ferrari right now. What a performance he's putting in. As Lawrence just eking out that gap again at the end of Sector 2, but they're pretty similar on pace right now, those two, as Mania looks to get his way back past Krauser as the 2 AlphaTauris working together. They swap positions once again, and no fighting between those two, as why would you, as Tier and Alex go wheel to wheel now. Alex down the inside of the Ferrari, and he's up to P5. Brilliant move from the Mercedes driver, and he continues to stay in the train. Thankfully, it's the Mania train right now, all the way down to Robsu, who's caught back up, and Chakalako. Look at this. He had a drive-through on lap 1, served it, and now he's only within 2 seconds of the pack that's led by 3rd place. So do not count this man out. He is still very much in this race, despite that mistake under the VSC, and he is catching them very quickly. He's got some serious pace in that Aston Martin. As Alex now trying to take advantage of a mistake from Krauser, I think. Alex down the inside. It's going to be the outside for the next corner, but he can't quite keep it together, and he doesn't have the DRS, in fact. Crucial, and now he's going to be under threat from Tier as a result of that. Tier looks to the inside as they break for the corner. Just enough room left by Alex, who's got the inside line for the next double right-hander. Robsu looking to stick his nose in as well, but thinks better of it, and they continue going nose to tail through this slow section. You don't really have much choice through there. You can go side by side through there. I've done it before, but you have to have a whole lot of faith in the other driver that's alongside you. At this stage, it's just not worth it. Just better to stay in the DRS train as Alex goes down the inside of Krauser into the final corner and makes that move stick. He's back up to P4, but no DRS for Mania, who has gapped him on those medium tyres for now. The pit window's about lap 14 or 15 for the mediums, so they can even stay out as late as 16, but that's when you'd be expecting them to come in, as these 3 going really hard at it in Sector 1. Krauser, Tier and Robsu nearly taking each other out through there, but just about keeping it together. Robsu right behind Tier as they go through this first sector, and Jakalako was caught up to the pack. He's going down the inside of Robsu through the long left-hander. It's going to be DRS though for the Scottish driver, but both drivers will get the DRS, so it will be neutralised. How much ERS does Jacko have? About 50%, same as Robsu, as Tier and Krauser go side by side again. And now Jacko trying to go around the outside of them all. He's going for it on 2 cars, but he overdoes it a little bit and has to back out. But he's back down to P8, but he is really hungry for those positions right now. He wants to get back onto the podium in this race. He'll think he has a good opportunity to do so, as Robsu and Krauser go side by side just ahead of him. He is on those mediums as Jacko, so you expect him to be fast, but not this fast compared to these guys, as Mania now makes to move on Ferrari for P2. The AlphaTauri driver flying right now, but Jack Alacco up to P7 as Krauser. No, he's overcooked it. He's overcooked it, and he's hit Robsu round at the hairpin. Robsu's going to be fuming. Krauser is going to have his head in his hands. It was all his fault. You have to be for the hairpin and took the Red Bull out. That promotes Sumo up to P8, who's got a lot better pace in the dry, I'm glad to report. But Krauser is going to be very, very embarrassed about that one. And that's going to be a penalty point coming his way, I am sure. But Jack Alacco up to P6 in the ensuing carnage. And still flying. 2 seconds between him and Tier right now. I'm sure that's going to come tumbling down, and he's suddenly going to find himself in the battle for P3 because Ferrari has lost some pace on those worn medium tyres, and he's now 1.3 behind Mania, but Alex G and Tier right behind him in this train for P3. And he had a fantastic start to this race, Ferrari. Brilliant first 5-6 laps or so, but now the tyres starting to take their toll, and he's starting to struggle just that little bit more. And he's fallen back into the clutches of the chasing pack. Lawrence, in the meantime, on the hard tyres, leading by 7.5 seconds. He is absolutely flying out there in that Aston Martin. It doesn't look like anything can stop him right now. But that surely inevitable safety car will be coming his way at some point. As Ferrari in P3 still holding on to that podium position with Alex G and Tier right behind him. Jack Alacco, there he is in the background, 2.5 seconds between him and that pack. It's going to be a struggle. He's got to make up the time in the corners, but it's so difficult to do that on 10-lap-old mediums, no matter how fast you are. On this track, once the tyres start to wear, it really equalises the grid a lot more. And Jacko's going to find it trickier to get past them. But he's 1.8 seconds behind Tier now already and closing in. But here comes Tier on Alex with the DRS. He uses the ERS as well. But Alex has got plenty in the tank as well. Both of them about 20%. Tier down the inside for the left-hander. But Alex is going to sweep round the outside, the inside for the double right. And he stays ahead. That's the way to defend at that corner, folks. It's stay on the outside. And you'll have the inside for the double right, and there's nothing that the following car can do about it. Tier gets himself a track limits penalty in the meantime, and Jack Alacco is closing in 1.1 seconds. You can hear the Jaws theme tune in the background as they go down towards the final corner. Alex G just behind Ferrari, can't quite make the move. He is going to have the DRS, and Jacko lost 0.3 actually due to that DRS, but you have to think at the end of this lap he is going to be in that train. Yes, especially if they keep battling the way they have been. Ferrari 1.5 seconds behind Mania now, who's 8.5 seconds behind Lawrence. Those mediums really starting to struggle, and Lawrence in no danger whatsoever, but we know his history with street tracks. It doesn't go well for him usually around tracks with walls on the sides. So but he's got an 8.5 second lead. He's looking extremely comfortable, but he was looking extremely comfortable in Baku as well in P5 last season, and then he binned it. Lupper retires from the session. We've got a VSC as a result. I don't know how Lupper's managed to retire there, but retire he has done. That's going to be a VSC. Lawrence leading by 10 seconds over Mania as a result of that. But keep those gaps with a pinch of salt, everyone, because they're going to come up and down by quite a lot during this VSC. The green flags are out. Lupper, you'll have a much better time in Brazil, trust me. This track, horrible at the best of times. No matter, but especially if you're not used to no line, especially if you've done no practice, which you clearly didn't. But DRS now enabled as Alex G and Tier go side by side. It's going to be 3 wide down towards the left-hand hairpin. Tier trying to gain 2 positions. They go through. Tier emerges in front. He's up to P3. What a move from the Ferrari driver. As Sumo makes a position as well. I'm not sure what's happened there. Krauser somehow managed to lose 2 positions. Robsu up to P7. No idea what's happening here. But he's trying to find his way past Sumo again. Round the outside for turn 1. It's going to be, and he brakes late to try and get the move done. That's still side by side through turn 2. Sumo leaving him just enough room, and Sumo stays ahead. Great racing between those two, but Robsu's still just about there, right on the back of this Mercedes. He's got Krauser behind him as well, and MCL is there in the Haas. He had to pit on lap 1 due to damage. He's going to be fuming with how this race has gone so far. Same with Aces and Lucasro. They're going to be very frustrated with this one, but MCL getting his way past Krauser for P9. And he closes in, but he's got no ERS left. Krauser will see that now, and he looks to the outside for the next corner. It's going to be the inside for the double right-hander if he stays there. They're still side by side as they go through. MCL gets the better on brakes. Krauser on the inside, but he can't hold it around the outside like you need to be able to overtake there. And he stays just behind the Haas driver in P10. But considering he was up to P3, P2 even at one point in this race, he's going to be desperately disappointed with how this has unfolded so far today. Despite starting from, I think it was P11 or so. But the 4 of them go down towards the hairpin as Alex G makes a move on Tier. No, he doesn't. It's Tier into the pits, as well as Mania. They've both come in very, very early for the hard tyre. Oh, no, they haven't. They've come in at about the right time, about the pit window for the hard tyres. Hard tyre runners will, of course, be staying out further. Tier out of the pits as well. Ferrari comes in for a set of hards and exits the pits just behind them all. But he's having a brilliant race so far, and I hope it continues for his sake. He's doing a fantastic job. And he exits the pits in P11. But, of course, a lot of drivers yet to pit, including this man, Lawrence, who now leads by 11.5 seconds. This is a dominant performance so far. And look who's now back to P2. It's Jack Alaco, the other Aston Martin, who got a drive-through on lap 1. He's up to P2. Robsu making a move on Sumo. MCL trying to follow him through. Down the inside he goes. There's contact between the two. I don't know how Sumo's going to feel about that one. He's going to feel MCL barged his way past. But MCL up to P5 and continues to chase. Just over a second behind Robsu. Is he going to get the DRS? Not with a oversteer moment like that, he's not. No DRS for the Haas, but it's not going to matter too much as Sumo is not close enough to make any sort of move. Krauser lurking in the background as well. But I think this man is going to be the most disappointed so far out of those who are currently running. Jack Alaco into the pits finally. For a set of the hard tyres after a blistering first stint. Who's that that's round? It's Electro Saunders in at the start of the final sector. So I don't know if that's damage again. Yeah, it is. Front left end plate. He broke the front right end plate. Sorry, other way around. He broke the front... No, it's the same end plate, I think. No, he broke the... I was right. He broke the front right end plate earlier on, and now he's broken the front left end plate. So it's going to be back to the pits for him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see an early retirement for the South African, but we'll see. Surely there's going to be a safety car at some point, right? We've had, what, 3 VSCs? Or 2 VSCs? Lawrence, though, he's gained another second on Alex G. Just doesn't want a full front wing. Clearly not, says Louis in the chat. Yeah, Alex G, 13 seconds behind Lawrence now. And this man has no equal on this circuit today right now. He has a huge lead. He's been so dominant so far in this race, but all it takes is one safety car and that lead comes crashing down as he heads into the pit lane. Very careful not to get a speeding penalty there. He braked very, very early. as MCL up into P3 in the Haas in the meantime, getting past Robsu in the DRS zone, and but now heads into the pits straight afterwards, and he's going to drop back down the grid. Where's Lawrence going to exit the pits? Alex G now leads the Miami Grand Prix. As Lawrence exits the pits, it's going to be P2 as he comes out the pits on the medium tyres, just ahead of Robsu. Tier setting the fastest lap on the hards, but I'm sure that's going to be broken in 2 laps time by Lawrence D. As Jack Alaco chasing down Aces now for P7. Aces is on 12 lap old medium tyres. He's going to have to come in for another set of mediums in a few laps time, I would imagine. But at the moment he's not doing too badly considering the misfortune that has befallen him today. MCL back down to P10 after the pit stop, but he's going to be hungry to get his way back up the grid. He's only 6 seconds behind Ferrari. It sounds like a lot, but we know how fast this man can be when he's on form, and he's going to be chasing down that Williams as Mania gets passed by Tier for P5 in the meantime. But still, that 3-second penalty on the Ferrari is going to be costly at the end of this one. We've got Alex G, Robsu and Sumo still yet to pit in this race. Leaving it quite late they are. Alex G and Sumo, in fact, I think Alex will probably pit first. I'm most likely going to pit this lap. No, he stays out for another lap. Oh, he does have those 10 seconds of penalties, I suppose. Surely Sumo will be in to take advantage. Yeah, there we go. The other Mercedes into the pits. Robsu also in just ahead. And Tier will be promoted to P3 as a result of that. And setting the fastest lap again. 2 laps in a row. He's flying right now in that Ferrari. Well, Robsu and Sumo into the pits for fresh tyres, fresh mediums for them both, as Jack Alaco makes the move on Aces up to P5. That must have been a good move through turn 1 and 2 because they were side by side nearly through 2. But just about missed it on camera. But the Scottish driver back up to P5, and that is P4 in terms of net positions. So he's doing a very, very good job right now. Fantastic recovery so far, and still, if we do have that safety car, he is going to be right back in the fight for the race win in this one. I have no doubt about it. MCL has already caught Ferrari by 2 seconds. I think his pace starting to dwindle. He's also on the hard tyres as well, with MCL and Krauser chasing him on fresh mediums, as well as Robsu and Sumo not too far back. So Ferrari is going to have a tough job of it. To keep that P7, but you can't take away from him the incredible race he's had to where he eventually ends up as his teammate goes round for the 3rd time today, this time in at the end of Sector 1. He's not having a good time out there as Electro Saunders, and there is my prediction coming true. Lawrence D setting the fastest lap at 30.7 on those medium tyres. I'd be surprised if anyone beats that. Unless they go onto softs at the end. Alex G down to P2 as a result, still has not pitted. I wonder if he's trying to do a hard soft. It's not a good strategy. The softs are terrible around here, but we'll see how it works out for him. He's 7 seconds between him and Tier right now, but he will drop a lot of positions when he pits. I think he'll drop all the way down to P11, to be honest, because the undercut's so huge around here. So not been a good day at the office for Alex so far today, but he was, I think, involved in that lap 1 carnage. So he's going to have to... he's just going to have to draw a line under this one, be back in Brazil. Last season, he had a brilliant race in Brazil, finished on the podium as well. So he'll be hoping to replicate that this season, as Robsu makes it past Krauser. That's Electro Saunders DNFing in the pit lane. He's had enough for today. Enough of this awful track after spinning 3 times. And the South African will... not compete further in this Grand Prix. Sumo currently in P11, trying to chase after the rest of the pack on mediums ahead of him, as Lucas Rowe gets himself a 3-second time penalty now. He's having a bit of a nightmare today after that lap 1 collision that was nothing to do with him, I don't think. He has just got very, very unlucky today, and he's going to be desperately hoping for a safety car to get him back in this race. Alex has finally pitted. Is he going to come out in P11, like I said? Will it be P10? It's going to be close between him and Sumo. He's coming out the pits now. Let's look from the POV of Sumo. Where is Alex? Just behind. So yeah, Alex exiting in P11. He's got a lot of work to do, and he's got 10 seconds of... How many seconds of penalties? 5 seconds of penalties now, because he had to serve 5 of them in the pits. I don't know if he'll be able to get that 5 seconds removed, as MCL has made his way past Rafferrari for P6. It's a net P5. Aces will surely have to pit again before the end. And the championship leader, it's not been a good day for him, but Rafferrari's coming back at him round the outside. It's going to be the inside for the double right-hander. MCL's going to struggle to hold on to this. Rafferrari will not have the grip compared to those mediums, so MCL sweeps around the outside and keeps the place. Great driving from them both, but it's MCL who keeps the place, and Rafferrari, I think, is going to start shipping positions now until the end of this race. Those mediums are so much better than the hards. But it's still been a great performance from Rafferrari today, as Robsu now closes in on that P7 with Krauser just behind him, 2.5 seconds. But if anything goes wrong, he'll be straight back up there. Just a little bit of battling around this track can cost you so much time. And Sumo not too far back either, with Alex G with that penalty, but still not sure if it's legitimate, so we'll find out later on. But Lucas Rowe, I feel so sorry for him, I really do. He's been so unlucky. It was a really good performance in qualifying from both Ferraris, but Tia's managed to fight his way back, and Lucas Rowe has not managed to do the same, unfortunately for him, as Robsu makes his way past Rafferrari now, and the struggling Williams starting to lose positions one by one on those awful hard tyres, which is a shame, really. It really is, but still, he's doing a good job, and he's going to score some decent points. MCL now making it past his teammate for P5. Aces on 16-lap-old medium tyres. Surely he's not going to try and take those to the end. I think, you know what, knowing Aces, he is going to try and take those tyres to the end. I can definitely see him trying that, but it's not going to end well. It really isn't. He is going to get absolutely swamped by all the drivers behind him in the next few laps. But he is going to have DRS off his teammate just this once, but it is just going to be the once, I think, as MCL now 3.5 seconds between him and Jack Alaco, who has 3.5 seconds to Mania, who has 3.5 seconds to Tia, who has 10 seconds to Lawrence. Yeah. Some big gaps in the top 5 at the moment. Not really many battles going on there, but plenty of battles further down the grid and closer gaps, I should say. MCL catching Jacko, though. He's on those medium tyres, so he's still going to be flying at the moment, but for how long, and will Jacko be able to defend? I think MCL, the best he can hope for today is P4. I'm not sure he has it in him to catch Mania here, especially, well, I was going to say especially with the ERS advantage, but Mania doesn't have much either. Jack Alaco, though, has got 50%, so he's got plenty to defend with when MCL comes knocking in the next few laps. So we'll see how that goes. Didn't he try the no-stop in Austria? Well, it was something like... no, he tried to go on the slicks too early when it was never going to be slicks. And then it stayed on the slicks, committed to the decision for the whole race until he eventually bailed and went back on the inters in the last few laps. But he went from a pretty much guaranteed 3rd place, I think it was, all the way to last, and that's where he stayed. So yeah, Austria was not Ace's finest moment. He is the championship leader right now, but I think he still will be after this race, but it's going to be much closer. Let's have a quick look at the points as Robsu gets past the Haas driver, because I haven't said anything about the standings so far today. So it is Aces on top by 13 points, and he does come into the pits. He hasn't gone all the way. He's come in for the softs. He wants that fastest lap. He's seen the writing on the wall. And soft tyres for the Haas driver as he goes for that fastest lap attempt. Lucas Rowe, oh man, I feel so sorry for him. He's the man I feel most sorry for from this Grand Prix. He does not deserve to be trundling around in P12. He really doesn't. But that's where he is, and that's where he's probably going to stay unless we do get late drama, late safety car in this race. But yeah, Ace is leading on 63 points as Krauser gets past Rafferrari. Rafferrari getting passed by Krauser and Alex, in fact, as they go down towards the next corner. DRS open for both those cars ahead, and the Williams driver down to P9, and now Sumo lurks in the background as well, looking for that position. But yeah, those hard tyres have been really bad for Rafferrari today. He was flying on the mediums. He was one of the fastest cars on track on the mediums. And then on the hards, he's just been nowhere compared to those guys on the mediums, unfortunately. But it is still going to be P10 by the looks of it. And maybe more if we do get late drama. But yeah, it's unfortunately not been the fairy tale ending to this Grand Prix that he would have wanted, but still an encouraging performance from the Spaniard as Alex gets past Krauser for P7, Sumo gets past Rafferrari for P9, and the Mercedes drivers getting past their respective opponents as Krauser looks for a move on Alex. The driver, he took out Robsu earlier, not Alex, sorry. But yeah, still, Krauser looking to stay with him, but 4 laps of tyre wear between the two of them in Alex's favour. So Krauser's going to find it tough to stay with the Mercedes driver. But yeah, Aces on 63 points. Jack Alaka on 50, Lawrence on 48, so he's going to gain a ton of points today. MCL on 47, and then Krauser on 45. That is your top 5 in the drivers' standings. Constructors, Haas on 110, Aston Martin on 98, and AlphaTauri on 73. So those are your top 3 in the constructors as well. So Haas with a big lead, but that's going to be cut into today because Aston Martin on P1 and P4, and it could be P3 because Jack Alako has silently caught up to Mania, and MCL's there as well. A podium is still on for the Spanish driver. And what a result that would be after getting taken out at the beginning. And he's fought back. He's put in a brilliant recovery drive, but those mediums are going to start hurting by this point, I think. Once we get to 9-10 laps old, he's going to start feeling the burn on those tyres, and the hards are going to be as bad as they were before, so it will equalise the tyres, I think. But Jack Alako right behind Mania, and the ERS difference is something to behold. Mania on about 20%, but Jack Alako still on 50% or so. We've got 5.5 laps left to go of the Miami Grand Prix, and this podium is still very much yet to be decided. Tia is very strong drive. We haven't seen much of him today, but he's P2 by 5 seconds as Jacko makes his way past Mania down the inside. Sumo got past Krauser in the meantime further back as well, but Jacko onto the podium, back onto the podium after his drive-through, and the pole man looking to recover as Sumo and Krauser wheel to wheel again after the DRS zone, but Sumo the inside line for the double right-hander, and up to P8, but they're going to be battling again down towards the last corner, I'm sure, as Aces looks to catch up to Rafferrari as well. 3 seconds between the two. MCL and Mania now side by side. MCL down the inside at the final corner, and he's up to P4 as Mania loses the rear on exit. He was so close to a podium for this season, but it hasn't quite happened for him. In the last few laps, he's been caught up by the drivers who were unlucky earlier on. So in some way you could say that it's justice for Jacko and MCL, but it's got to be gutting for Mania to lose out on a podium in the last few laps there. But it's not over yet. MCL with no ERS left. Jack Alako about 50%. MCL's going to have the better tyres for now, but not for much longer. but he will have the DRS as they head down towards the next corner. I don't know about the downforce differences between these two. It certainly looks like MCL's got a lot less downforce though. As he looks to the outside, Jacko can do nothing about it. Or chooses to do nothing about it. He stays behind MCL, who is now up to P3 in that Haas, and Jacko looks to follow him through. He's going to have the DRS down towards the last corner, but how close is the gap going to be? Jacko needs a good exit out of this corner right here to get on the attack. He gets a decent exit. I think it's good enough, but we saw how low downforce MCL is today, so it might not be enough after all. Here comes Jacko, looks to the inside, and it's going to be an overtake into the last corner. He hasn't given this up yet, has the Scotsman. 5 seconds between them and Tier, but they're going to continue battling down towards turn 1, and Tier not out of the woods yet either. It is only 3 seconds, right? Yeah, only 3 seconds for Tier. Of track limits penalties as MCL round the outside of turn 1. Can he make it stick? Jacko's going to stay side by side with him. There's nearly a little bit of contact as MCL gets on the curb. They're still side by side through turn 4. Brilliant racing between these two. MCL on the inside, Jacko on the outside, leaves plenty of room, just enough. MCL back down to P4 as a result, but he's going to have the DRS again, and he gets a wonderful line to get a good exit, but doesn't get the exit he wanted, and gets a 3-second time penalty on the exit as well. On lap 26 of 29, only 3.5 laps left to go, but he is going to be cursing himself for that track limits penalty. I wonder if it will stay though. It is only his 3rd warning, and he may have gotten a warning in that carnage at lap 1, so he can't count our chickens just yet. But Jacko stays ahead again. He sweeps around the outside as the MCL dives to the inside and doesn't make it stick. And now, look who this has brought back into the fight. Mania 93. Back in the DRS range, and Robsu not too far behind as well. Where's he come from? In the Red Bull, 1.2 seconds behind Mania. He's nearly in this train for P3, and MCL can't make the move on Jacko into the last corner this time. Those mediums starting to struggle with 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Lawrence, a dominant performance. He leads by 12 seconds over Tier. Tier 6 seconds ahead of these guys. Due to all their battling. He's doing a very solid drive as well. Cannot be understated. He was in P12, I think, after lap 1. Something like that anyway. And he's come all the way back. What a drive it's been from Tier. But MCL right behind Jacko. This battle for P3 still rages on. Mania 1.5 seconds back now. He's lost out in Sector 1. And Robsu is back in the fight for the top 5. He's 7 tenths behind. Mania could lose out on a top 5 finish here. Never mind the podium. But here comes MCL again. It's going to be DRS all the way down towards that left-hander. Can he make this move? He goes to the outside, which is where you want to be, but it's ahead before the braking zone, and MCL back to P3, but Jacko's going to look to do the same thing he did a couple of laps ago. Just stay behind the Haas and get the good exit onto the DRS straight and get back past, but that wasn't such a good exit from the double right. Now to this left, this is the crucial corner. MCL a bit too much of the curb there, but Jacko a bit too much of wheel spin on the rear, and that gap's up to 6 tenths on the exit as MCL uses all the ERS he's got. Jackalacko using his as well, but he's too far back. And he's going to have to fight back down towards turn 1 here. Robsu gets the move done on Mania in the background. Down the inside of the hairpin. They're still side by side on the exit. But it's Robsu up to P5. Brilliant stuff from him too. In the Red Bull, Mania 2 tenths behind as they go down towards turn 1. But he can't make the move back. And Robsu, what a drive from him. There's been some brilliant stories on the grid today, it has to be said. Krauser with a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as he comes in for fastest lap. And it's not been a good race for him after all. It's a similar story to Ferrari. Fantastic opening stints for both of them. Absolutely brilliant. and then they've tailed off in the second stint of this race, and now Krauser down to fighting for the fastest lap. Meanwhile, Aces on the softs is up to P8. When did that happen? He's gotten past Sumo, but Sumo will have the DRS, but Aces fighting back, and I believe he still has the fastest lap. No, Lawrence still has it. He wasn't able to beat Lawrence. That's the domination that Lawrence has had today. Ace is not able to beat his lap, even on soft tyres. A tenth between them, but wow, Lawrence been undrivable today. He really has. Mania still in DRS of Robsu. He's still got some ERS left as well, but a little less than the Red Bull ahead. Jackalacco 1.7 seconds behind, but Lawrence D starts the final lap here. Tier just 11.5 seconds behind. I say just. Starts the final lap as well. MCL has to try and gain 1.2 seconds on Jacko in one lap to try and get that podium and snatch it off him at the last hurdle. Lap 29 of 29, can he do it? Can Robsu hold off Mania for P5 as well? This battle rages on too, as Aces looks to try and catch Alex for P7 too, and Alex does have that penalty, but I seriously doubt that's a legitimate penalty. I'd be very surprised if it was. But Jackalacco now 2.3 seconds behind MCL. That has flying right now. As he goes through the left-hander, Jacko 2.5 seconds. He's got to gain that time back, but he has no DRS to do it. He's got no ERS either. He's pushing very hard. MCL's got 0% ERS actually, but he's got that low downforce setup. Lucas Rose sets the fastest lap. A bit of reprieve for him today, thankfully. But still, he's going to be desperately disappointed with how this race has turned out. Lawrence D comes down towards the final corner. In the meantime, he has led this race from start to finish, other than the brief period after he pitted. Through the final corner, Lawrence, the most dominant victory of the season so far. He wins the Miami Grand Prix. Tier comes around the final corner. What a performance he's put in today as well. Definitely my driver of the day. Tier finishes in second place. MCL round the final corner. Jacko caught him back up on this final lap in the last sector, and MCL will finish P4 after penalties. Jacko on the podium. Robsu holds off Mania for P5. What a great race that was. Alex G finishes in P7, but it's going to be P8 after that penalty, unless he gets it removed later on. In fact, P9, Sumo jumps him, and Sumo is going to be absolutely ecstatic to finish in P8 in Miami after four crashes in a row. He got classified for one of them, but really it's 4 crashes in a row. So Sumo's going to be delighted with that. Krauser was unable to beat the fastest lap, and that just shows that Lucas had pace today. He was just so desperately unfortunate, and he's going to finish in P12. Woof. What an exciting Grand Prix. Love that one. No idea what happened at turn 1. I'll have to find that out later. Absolutely no clue what happened there. But, I mean, my instinct would go to Lupper because he was missing all the braking zones today. But I don't think it was Lupper. He still had his front wing. He had no damage on his car, and he made up 7 positions. I think he just stayed back and then passed everyone after turn 1. He just stayed back and then switched them all back after the carnage, and then obviously binned it a lap later. But I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Really don't. But it's a double Aston Martin podium. Lawrence D takes the win by 13 and a half seconds from Tier. What a drive from Lawrence. Untouchable today. As Tier finishes in P2. Jackalacco 17.5 seconds behind. You only lose about 13, I think, for a drive-through. So even then, Lawrence was well ahead of his teammate. But Jacko recovers to P3, very well done. MCL P4 with Robsu in P5, beating out Mania at the end, who finishes... In the end, he'll be disappointed with P6, I think. Aces recovers to P7 on the softs, and then the two Mercedes, Asuma and Alex. Rafferrari will be disappointed with P10. And then Krauser in P11, the same. Lucas Rowe in P12, so unlucky today. He had so much pace. And then our three DNFs were Electro Saunders, Lapo Korvax, and the newbie Vista. So there you have it. We will have our interviews with the top three. So just to get them into the party. Tier 2, start party. So Lawrence, Tia, and Jacko. That's Jacko in.
Hello.
Just waiting for Lawrence and Tia. Jacko, while you're here, did you catch what happened at turn 1?
Well, I was in a party with Krauser, and what he said is the new guy, what Vistar, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
He just didn't stop.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if he thought this was like a bit of fan open lobby or.
I see. Well,
That's
no, he left immediately afterwards, so I'm assuming he was just to annoy everyone, which is disappointing. But you know, you can't always get good eggs.
Yeah.
It's been a very long time since we got one of those, though. Like years since we had someone who just joined to kill people. But anyway,
that's why I joined.
Well, Lawrence is in the party, so we'll speak to him now. Lawrence, that is probably got to be your most dominant win in Tier 2 ever. So, I mean, I would say talk us through the race, but I imagine it wasn't very interesting for you.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of a dull race at the front. I was pretty gutted that Jacko
Sorry.
he got the penalty, he got the drive through. I think like that probably could have been a good hell of a teammate battle for the win. Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Box of mediums. Yeah, good pace.
Yeah, I mean, did you come into this expecting to be at the front? Obviously, you didn't come into this expecting to win by 13 seconds, but did you expect to be battling for the win today, or did you come into this one not confident because it's Miami and are pleasantly surprised right now?
No, I was confident for Miami. I saw yours and Sumo's predictions earlier that it's a street circuit and near the podium. So, yeah, I was confident it was going to win tonight.
Well, maybe we should predict you not to finish on the podium more often.
If you could do that, but Sumo's probably got his little voodoo doll of me now. And
Oh dear. Well, congratulations on a extremely strong victory today. Well, 20 points for you, and the championship very much back on. So congrats. How are you feeling for Brazil?
Yeah, looking forward to Brazil. My last outing at Brazil was quite eventful. Hopefully next week is not as eventful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm confident. It's been a long overdue win tonight, and it was nice to win in the style that I won. So we'll take it one race at a time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Brazil.
Absolutely. Well, congrats again, Lawrence, and good luck for Brazil next week.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for your comms.
No problem at all. So we go down to P2 finisher today, and my driver of the day, Tia. What a race from you! After you got caught up at turn 1 in that huge pile-up, didn't get any damage, yeah. But still, what a recovery! Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, fair, the last 8-10 laps or so, I didn't have much to do except for watch the gap behind, but because obviously I had a penalty. Actually, I thought I had more warnings than I did. I was really conscious that I had warnings. I just looked. I actually only had the 3 and the penalty. Could have cut the corners a bit more. No, yeah, the first start of the race was quite good. I was pretty confident with my pace around here because I did do a race the other day around here in another league, and I did quite well then as well. I was actually more annoyed to qualify, to be honest. I think I had more time, but I just kept messing up the last corner.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly had a lot of a very strong pace today. Same question to you as Lawrence. Did you come into this one expecting to be good, or were you worried and are now pleasantly surprised?
I thought the race would be okay. I was worried about my qualifying again. I seemed to sort of mess my qualifying the last few races. I know I can go slightly faster and just never do it.
Yeah, no, I had that last season as well. I know how you feel. But yeah, I mean, incredible recovery and some really, really strong overtakes as well. I caught most of them. Did any of them
aggressive tonight?
Yeah. Did any of the overtakes particularly stand out to you today?
No, I mean it's fun in this league anyway. Everyone gives you space and that, and then you've got to be an idiot. So
yeah,
a few of them I sort of went for it, but then realised I really weren't going to gain on the next corner. But it's still fun.
Well, clearly apart from that newbie, but anyway.
Yeah,
we
I sort of
move.
gathered it as him. But...
Yeah, we move. But yeah, it's a shame he ruined so many people's races, but didn't ruin yours, clearly, in the end. So congratulations, what a performance, and I hope you can take it into Brazil next week.
Yeah, I mean, I like the rest of the races coming up, so hopefully it'll be good.
Awesome. Right, well, congrats, Tir, on a podium. Very well deserved. So we come to Jacko in P3, who had, a blunder, it has to be said, on lap 1, but came back to finish on the podium in the end. So talk us through it.
Yeah, the drive-through. So I'm really confused about this because I was like chilling at 3-4 tenths in the green, and then as I went round that right-hander, that awkward right-hander, for some reason, like I didn't change speed or anything. For some reason, it just dropped rapidly to like -2 or something, and then obviously I couldn't stop in time. So that was that, but I recovered.
And yeah, what a recovery it was. I mean, to see you rapidly approach that train, I could hear the Jaws theme tune in my head in that first stint. I mean, did it sort of put some determination into you after what was a very strong pole position in qualifying? Or was it more just that you had that pace anyway and it was just about using it?
Oh, to be honest, I didn't really know I had pace because obviously I missed Friday and Sunday in Tier 1 Elite, so I was kind of just going into this not knowing. But I was just put it behind me, put my head down and got on with it, and I obviously had some good pace.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And very happy for you to be back on the podium after that recovery. There's a lot of recovery drives.
You should have predicted me doing the podium. I assume I was going an extra point on you.
Yeah.
You're already miles behind as well.
Well, I mean, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I did have a question in mind. But how are you feeling for Brazil after that recovery? First of all, are you going to make it to Brazil? Because I know you're not making it to one of the Brazil races.
I am going to watch Ross County.
Ah, fair enough. Well, good luck to them.
If we need it.
Yeah, I saw where you were in the table about a week ago.
Just 11 games without a win. It's going great.
Oh God. Well, congrats today anyway, and it's a big boost for Aston Martin in the constructors as well for you and Lawrence. So we will see you back in Hungary, but for now, congrats on a very well-deserved podium.
Thank you.
So that's it for today in APP Tier 2. A very, very exciting race. Action from start to finish. Unfortunately, we had someone who joined purely just to kill everyone at turn 1. Just a 4-year-old having some fun, clearly. But, it is what it is. These things happen once in a blue moon. But, yeah, thankfully... plenty of people had a good recovery. I think the person I feel most sorry for is Luke Castro, because he didn't have the opportunity to recover after that rampage at turn 1. But still, well done to everyone today for getting through that and at what is a terrible, horrible track at the best of times. So, well done everyone today. Thank you all very much for watching. This has been APP Tier 2. We'll be back next week in Brazil for a sprint race weekend as well. But I've been Ghost, and we'll see you then. Have a great week, everyone. Goodbye.